Well, good morning, everybody. This is WWP Reacts, and I want to just share with you some world perspective outside of the United States on what certain folks, ex-head of the British military, Michael Clarke, and his thoughts on our foreign policy, the Ukraine-Russia war, and overall Putin and this war. So let's watch and listen, and please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and ask me anything in chat.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's Ukraine War question and answer session with the inimitable Professor Michael Clarke. Professor Clarke, great to have you. From you, we always have you, but great to be across from you again. I had a week off last week, but I'm happy to be back this week. Thank you all, as always, for submitting your questions. We've had plenty this week, and of course, you can submit questions as we go along, should you wish to choose to do so. Anything that Michael says that tickles your fancy, sparks your interest, submit a question and we'll try and get it answered. You can do that on our YouTube channel or through our website along in the blog. All right, Michael, before we go any further, why don't we, first of all, just take a sense as to where we are with all of this at the moment. I mean, we were just talking before we went live about how it's just seemed that Donald Trump has done a complete 180.
Yeah, one phone call with Putin and he turns his mind around completely and suddenly all the facts are different. But that's where we are. I mean, I've been saying since...
This guy, Michael Clarke, if you don't know, he's a academic professor, former Director General of the Royal United Services Institute, an Australian political scientist who specializes in Chinese foreign policy. He's a visiting professor at King's College in London and the University of Exeter, and a commentator on the Ukraine war. He's really known for his leftist ideology, and let's go.
The middle of March, that President Trump is zigzagging his way out of this war, and every week brings another turn, a zig or a zag. And the zigzags in a way are important because at the point at which America does leave this conflict, and I have to say I thought they'd be out by now, but they're still in it. But at the point at which he does leave the conflict, the question is, who does he blame for the failure of his diplomacy? Because it's important to the Ukrainians that the Americans keep on supplying some intelligence and targeting data, which, as I keep saying, they collect it anyway. So it costs them nothing to give it to Ukraine. If they withhold it from Ukraine as an act of punishment, as it were, which they have done a couple of times, then it will have a big effect. So the terms upon which the United States leaves the conflict, as it were, are important. And so the zigzags matter. But the underlying course is that President Trump will give up on all of this and let events take their course.
Right, and that is where we find ourselves moving towards. I mean, some could argue that the US are already kind of out of it. They're not spending anything. All their weapons are being paid for by the Europeans. As you say, they're already collecting that data. So there's not very much more they have to do apart from give the rhetorical support, the backing to Ukraine, which he seems to have changed his mind on a little bit.
And there is one issue that I was talking about with some specialists yesterday. That if the United States, as it were, pulls out of the war rhetorically, and therefore there is quite a big split between the Europeans and the United States, which again I've been thinking would happen earlier. It hasn't yet happened. I thought it would have happened by now, but we're on course for that to happen. If that happens, then there is a possibility then that President Putin will say, right, this is my opportunity to really hit Ukraine with everything I've got and put the Europeans under pressure to either you're going to support Ukraine or you're not. Because now the United States is detached from the process. And so it's all down to you. You are the ones, the Europeans are the ones keeping this war going because you're not sensible. You won't pull the plug on Ukraine, which ultimately you're going to have to do. So do it now before more people die. So the rhetorical difference between the US pulling out of the war, giving up on the whole peace idea, peace process, might have a stimulating effect on Putin, saying, right, this is my moment to challenge the Europeans, either support Ukraine and go to war with us, or pull the plug on Ukraine and let the inevitable happen.
Yeah,
that's the view. I mean, that's not the truth, as I see it, but that is the view in Moscow, that they will inevitably win this war. It's just a question of how foolish the West is, for how long they are foolish enough to support the Ukrainians
in clinging on. I mean, Donald Trump has used the words.
This is amazing. Michael Clarke, for 2 years, has been saying that we, America, need to keep supporting this war. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And now he's like, oh, well, Trump's trying to pull out and blame it all on Europe. It is Europe's fault. Europe is the one that promoted Zelensky and really created the atmosphere that's there by trying to get Ukraine into the EU or into NATO or whatever it was.
Of Putin that Russia will destroy Ukraine during that meeting. Let's go to the first question because it's about that meeting.
Right.
It's from Jared. He said there were reports of files being thrown around the room when Trump and Zelensky met last week in the White House. I didn't see that when they sit around the dinner table. This was obviously in the private meeting that they had. Trump's then seems to have been talked down somewhat. Jared's question, is there an adult in the room helping smooth this over, or is it all just him?
No, Jared, it's a good question. I mean, this was a Financial Times scoop of about 48 hours ago. They scooped something by talking to people who were in the room, and they said what Trump did, Zelensky was putting maps in front of him of where the front line was, and I think Zelensky was trying to show him that the Ukrainians were making progress and that the Russians were not making progress, and that the Ukrainians were actually doing quite well. And Trump was so fed up with this, he sort of scooped the maps onto the floor. I don't think it was files, but reportedly it was the maps.
Yeah.
And they said it was a shouting match. I don't know if they just meant raised voices. And